So good morning once again. Welcome to class, everyone. If you are just joining us, my name is Dr. Rachel Awal, and today I am going to be taking you the things that you should know when you want to begin to write your CSC 01 term paper. So I already announced in the class that we will be using the guideline released by PG School. So I'm going to, I believe that we all have it, but if you don't have it, please get it. I am going to be sharing it on my screen, and then I'm going to take you through all the parts step by step, the things you need to note. By now, some of you have your topics. If you do not have your topics, please, after this class, let us talk so that I can give you some topics. Or if you have some that are good, we can work on it to make it really good. So this is a guideline for writing thesis, and I think it's actually a very, very good guideline for general report writing. So we'll be adopting that. We are not writing a full thesis in CSC 601. We are writing a term paper, and as we've talked about in the previous classes, this class is about trends and current occurrences, current happenings in major fields in computing. So if you already have your topic, you can now start to write. And you are going to have different types, right? In your content, you're going to have the prefatory section, which consists of the title page, your in case of a thesis now. So don't forget that we are looking at the guideline for writing a thesis. So some of these things here would not apply to your own report writing. Yours is just a shorter version, a less robust version of what a full thesis should be. So that is why some of you who submitted reports, so I'm sorry, some of you who submitted topics that were more of like a project or thesis topics, we rejected them because this is not your thesis, this is not your master's or your PhD thesis. This is just like a term paper that you are going to be taking a stab at. All the things you learn here will definitely apply when you are writing your thesis, but this is not a thesis, that's just the point. So we are going to have a title page in 601 now. You're going to have, if you have figures or tables or maps, you're going to have them listed. If you use a lot of abbreviations, and I think you should be able to have this list of abbreviation page where you would break down all the core terms in that field that you're looking at. Since keep it at the back of your mind, but you're looking at trends. You want to report what is happening, what is hot, what is the up-to-date things that are happening in that field. So I would want to believe that in your searching and in your writing, you're going to come up with some terms that might not be known to everybody. So this is actually a good idea for you to have a list of abbreviations that you're going to use to make your reader to understand better. So let's say somebody opens your report and they're on page, let me say page 10, and they come across a kind of maybe abbreviation, and it might happen that on that particular page you have not defined it. Maybe it was in the previous page or something. So somebody can easily go back to the prefatory section of your report and get the meaning out. So abstract 2 is a summary. You're going to have an abstract at the beginning of your work, but abstract is something I think you should write last after you have finished your work. We are going to get to the introduction, the literature review, and then the content, depending on your topic, the content might differ, but for everybody will have an introduction, everybody will have a literature review, then the other content that might be typical to the topics that you have, and then we will have a conclusion. If there are some appendices necessary, you will have it at the back. you have that. So after you have all of this, it is when that's the best time to write your abstract. So your abstract basically summarizes the major parts of your work. So if I'm looking at your abstract, the first paragraph should tell me a little bit about your introduction. In your abstract, the second paragraph should tell me about literature, like a review, like what are the trends and the things that happen in, that have been published about that work. I should be able to see that short and precise in your abstract. I should be able to see what methods or what the content of the rest of the report has. Then I should be able to see the conclusion that you arrive at. Or the author should be just one page, not the words. Don't let it exceed one page. But on that one page is a summary of everything that you have written in your report. That is why you should write it last. Okay, so here now we have title page. So there is an anti-plagiarism. So when you're writing your thesis, your thesis will be run through plagiarism check before you can do your final exam and graduate. So when you are writing these reports, to take note that it has to pass a plagiarism test as well. So don't just copy and paste, copy and paste, and copy and paste. No. The whole point is that you are reporting something that you've read. We are not looking for so many pages or so many words. We are looking at the quality of the content that you have. So please take note of this. It must pass a plagiarism check. So like I said, you have your table of contents. If you have figures, and I would recommend that while you're doing your literature review, they say the pictures, says 1,000 words. So figures, your tables, they actually go a long way to help you communicate your findings better. So as much as possible, I want you to include figures and tables in your work. Please take note of that. Like I said, a list of abbreviations and acronyms, if you have them, put it at the prefatory section, and then the abstract. So now, okay, so here in PG guideline, they are saying that your abstract must not be more than 500 words. For this course, it should even be way lesser than that, because you're not doing a whole comprehensive project. So it should be less. Let's just say a page. It should not be more than a page. So now, that's it for the preparatory section. For the main body of your work, so we want you to have an introduction. Have an introduction. So that's like a brief, very, very brief paragraphs and statements and sentences that tells us a little bit of what your topic of what we are expecting to see in your write-up. So it should be introduction should not be so long, just and it's not just like a background. Like I said in the previous class, you don't just start to tell somebody something, you kind of give them like, okay, a kind of background details before you go into the main thing. So that's what introduction is about. It should be short. And then you would end your introduction with, okay, so now that you, with something that describes what is coming next. Basically, I think you should end almost every chapter that way, so that the body of your work would flow. So if I'm writing introduction, as I'm concluding that introduction, I should be saying, okay, so now this is the objective, this is the things that is going to come next. So that way, when I open it, I'm not saying something totally different or something totally new. It flows, and then I go to the next chapter and I'm able to like, okay, this is what this person said in chapter 1, and now I'm reading the chapter 2. It must just flow nicely. One chapter will flow nicely into the other. Not that chapter 1 will just stand on its own, and then chapter 2 would also stand on its own. So it must flow. When you write any report or your thesis, anything you're writing, you must flow. Even though you are separating into parts or sections or chapters, the writing must flow. So so now after introduction, you are you must do a literature review. And I would say, depending on what your topic is, um, this is the most important part, because you are, if you notice all the topics that we projected on the screen in the last class, most of the topics are basically about digging into something and then reporting it. Like you're digging into this concept and what's going on, like and then reporting it. And there's no way you can report anything without doing a deep and extensive literature review. So I believe that this section, so let it be your chapter 2 now. This literature review is the core of what will be examining you for when you actually submit this report. Like, so I want you to be able to dig deep and tell me, okay, this is the origin of this. These are the key things, key milestones in the evolution of that concept that you have picked, of that topic that you have picked. What are the key things that your reader must know? And then, so what are the recent things? Currently, these are the things that are happening. You must be able to report it, because if I'm picking a particular topic now, there are some things that should not be missing from that topic. It is your job to go and find those key things that must not be missing from that topic. For instance, if somebody says cybersecurity and maybe trends, there must be some things that it must be there. So you must make sure that in your search, your review, you are not missing the key concept. So please take your time to, dig deep and do this work very well. So doing this would actually help you in your thesis as well, because it follows the same format. So for your review, as you are searching things that you are supposed to search and report, please note that there are some sources that are not they're not suitable for academic purposes, for research purposes. I would suggest that all your sources, almost all, let's say 99 or 90%, must be from reputable published journal articles. I'll say that again, must be from published journal articles. It should not be coming from news. It should not be coming from Facebook posts, what somebody just said. It should not be coming from a blog or from the news. I hope you get my drift. So even though the news might be saying the same thing that journal is saying, it is preferable, it is desirable that in your report you are using sources that are, academic. Those are journals, conferences that have been published. This is because before anything is published, there's a review process. They have checked it and they have accepted it, they have reviewed it, and they have said, okay, some people have come together and said, okay, this is genuine, this is okay, this can go out there. But that is not the case for a blog or for news or for social media posts. So please stay away. If you are searching and you come across some things on that place, you can actually pick the ideas and go into pool of journal articles to check for that same thing, to check for source, to verify it, and then it is that one that you put and report in your work. Please, after this class, remind me to send you a list of some websites that you can use for your searching when you are writing. So don't use general Google, because general Google will bring you anything. It will bring social media, it will bring different sources. But if you use these ones, it's just bring you strictly journal articles. So while you're working and you're searching for this and that, just make sure you're searching on Google Scholar and the rest. So I have a list. I have like 4. Please remind me. I'll drop it for you, so you can use it to search and do your work. So that is it for the literature review. So after the literature review, you can have some other sections that you feel is important to know based on what your topic is. So in this regard, we can give you some leeway. You can have your chapter 3 would be some other content as a result of, well, as I said, it must flow, right? So after your chapter 2, if you feel like there are some things that you still want to talk about, you can put it as your chapter 3, and then your findings and conclusion can be your chapter 4. So that is left to you. I'm actually looking forward to see what you would put in your chapter 3. So okay. So for your conclusion must be basically your own personal excuse me, your own personal opinion, your own personal view, based on all these things that you searched for, you found. So what are the conclusions that you can draw out from this whole, study that you have studied? Excuse me, please. So this whole writing will take you a lot of hours. So at the end of the day, we want to see, okay, what are the trends? What did you notice in your literature review, as you're reviewing, as you're checking for introduction, as you're checking for the problems or challenges or trends? What are your own conclusions that you can come to at the end of the day? So you put that in the last session. So now at the end of the day, we are going to have a references section. Like I said, all your sources. You want to define something, there's a problem in this particular field, you must be coming with source, with a good source. So at the end of the day, you're going to have a list of references that you're going to list for us. So all the places that you took your information from, you're going to list them. I skipped something. In your literature review, almost every line, almost every word, you must tell us where you got them from. So if you are stating that today is a very bright day, you must say in brackets or in whatever format, you must tell us how or who said that. So especially in all the parts of this work of your research writing, you must, for every part that you're getting from somewhere. So as you're searching, as you're grabbing some information, as you're bringing it to paraphrase it into your own report, you must be bringing the source along. So maybe Olaleran et al., Oluwaseun, and Maderonke in 2021 said this. You must put it in the body. I want to really see. I don't want you to write and write and write. And I'm like, how did you get all this information? Who said? So make sure that at every point in time, you are inserting your sources in the body, not just in the literature review, in the introduction as well. Put the sources there. And at the end of the day, under the references, after the whole body of the report is completed, you are going to come here and list for us all the sources in full. So there's something called APA referencing style. It's called American Psychological Association, and that is the format that we in computer science and engineering, OAU here, that is what we use when we are referencing our work. So if you're writing, when you start to write your thesis too, you will have to do it in this same format. So it's called APA referencing style. I would suggest that you go online. You can find short videos that can explain to you the format, where you put your comma, where you put the name of the author. Is it the surname? Is it going to be an ampersand if it's somebody and somebody? So is it going to be AND, or is it going to be, because they're different. There are 5 different styles, but APA has its own rules, and you have to start to learn how to use the rules. There are some websites that will help you to automatically generate the format. They would, for instance, if you tell them the name of the author, if you tell them whether it's 1 author or 2 authors, if you tell them it's a journal or conference, put key in all these things, and then they will help you generate how it should be arranged. If you are using Google Scholar, if you go to search for the name of that publication, under it you see site. If you click on site, to list it for you in the different formats: APA, MLA, Chicago, Vancouver, Harvard. It will list it, and then you can click on it, copy and paste APA, which is what we are using, and then go and list it in your references. So there are some shortcuts to it, and I'm sure as you start to write, you start to understand all of these things. So just don't forget, the source that you're putting in the body is called the citation. Then when you come to list it, you call it the references. So don't forget to paraphrase. Okay, so if you look at the report, the guide by the PG school, if you read it, you take your time to read it. They have actually gone into details of some of these examples, but you can also find all of these things online. So if you find some anonymous work, if you find a corporate author, once in a while, you might even find some things on the website and you feel like it's really something that is germane to your writing and you want to report it. I don't recommend it, but in case you don't even find it anywhere else, there are also ways using APA, even within that APA, there are ways you can cite websites, there are ways you can cite blogs, even though I do not recommend you using these sources, but if you absolutely have to, make sure you follow APA style for referencing. The same applies to images. So if you are using images, you are using tables, so there's a format in which you caption your tables and your images, for instance. So tables, the caption will be on top. Images, the caption will be on the bottom. So, and then if those tables and if the table and the images are not your own, if you've gotten from a particular source, you make sure that under the caption, the source is stated. So if you read through this, you'll find the format. Yes. For here on page 8, you can see how to do figures, how they must be numbered, is it below, how it must be. So please read this up. I'm always available if you have questions. You can ask me. So if you want to place your figure on your table, make sure you place it on a page to stand alone on a page, and then it must be in the center of that page. So make sure you centralize it. One figure per page, one table per page, no matter how small, it must stand alone. That is the format. And then you caption it based on the chapter. So if you're in chapter 1 and you have a figure, so the figure will be 1.1, figure 1.1. If when the next one comes, it will be figure 1.2 and so on. So if you go to chapter 2 and you have a table, the first table in chapter 2 will be table 1.1 and so on and so forth. So make sure you caption it accordingly. Another thing is you don't just put your table there. As you are writing your word, and you're saying, okay, so this and this and this is this, and then it is shown in figure 1.1. So if I'm reading that, the moment obviously the figure cannot stay on that same page where there's text, because I just told you that the figure must stand alone on its own page. So if I read your work and I'm saying figure 1.1 is showing this and this and this, if I flip that page, I must see that figure. It must come immediately after you mention it. The same thing for a table. So immediately after you mention a table or a figure, you must make sure that you place that image or you place that table after it. So if on a page you mention 2 figures, it means by the time I flip that page, I must see the first one figure, and then the next figure must come after. And then you don't just stop when you mention the figure, you continue writing other things. But when I flip the page, I must see the table and I must see the figure. It must follow. It must flow like that. If you have any questions, please during this class, you can drop your questions in the chat box, so that when I go finish, the class, I can read through and answer all the questions that you have. So there's a way you do your headings and your formatting. So chapter heading, you see chapter heading will be bold. If you read through PG School, I've set some font sizes that you use. So just follow whatever PG School is stating here. capitalized, highlighted, your margin on both sides, because if you notice, you see that the margin on the left side is more because you are leaving space for binding, for hard copy binding. So all these things have been put into consideration. So yeah, you can just follow it directly. You may not be binding. Okay, you might be doing soft binding for your work anyway. So so follow the chapter heading, the subtopics, and the font sizes are stated in this PG guideline. Another thing I would like to mention is the fact that your because okay, so I think I mentioned what your chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and so on would contain, but I've not mentioned the other subsections. I want to note that a subsection must contain at least more than 2 or 3 sentences. So if you have a subsection that is just like a sentence or 2 sentences, it's too short for it to be for it to stand alone as a subsection. So you have to find a way to maybe merge it or to develop it to be more robust. But a subsection must carry at least a substantive amount of information and data. So I think that is all for now. Let me know if you have questions. Do you have questions? I'm trying to find the chat. I don't think anybody chatted anything. Okay, so if you don't have any question, I think that will be the end of the class. And so this is a guide. So if you don't have your topics yet, let me know. Chat me up so we can go through it. Yeah, somebody's raising their hand. Do you want to say something?
Yes, good morning, ma.
Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My question is that, for this report writing, like how many pages are we going to have? The maximum pages, number of pages we are to have. And can we get maybe the recorded version of this class after the class? And also, I want to know this material you said, can we receive it maybe via the WhatsApp? And lastly, I want to also maybe I implore you and Prof that, because I could remember on the last class we had, Prof said that we had to submit our draft on Friday. And you can see that majority of us some are not they've not received their question or their topic already. I don't know if you can help us in such a way that maybe you can extend it till Monday for us to submit our draft so that we'll be able to have to fine tune everything. And so that's what I just want to ask now. Thank you.
Okay. Before you go, can you remind me of the first question?
Hello?
What was the first question?
My first question is the number of pages to have on for 10 papers.
Okay.
Yes.
So there is no stipulated number of pages because
okay.
it is even for your thesis, nobody's going to tell you, okay, this is the number of pages you must be. Just make sure you follow the guidelines as stated. Make sure that your content is concise. And then you cover all the things you need to cover. It shouldn't be too long, but you must also at the same time cover everything you need to cover. So it's
all right.
I can't really tell you because it's not about you working towards a certain number of pages. It's about you doing a good job. So even if it's 10 pages, as long as it covers everything concisely, it's well written, that's fine. If it's 100 pages, that's also. I'm going to provide a link to this class. You are going to get the documents. This document, I want to post it, and other resources as well. So just we'll make it available. As for extending the deadline, we'll talk about we can talk about later. But may I remind you that it is the people who don't have topic yet, it's because they have not done the right thing. We had a whole class where we explained to you how to write topics, and then a lot of people are still not getting it correctly. Before that presentation, we had that class where we explained all the things you're supposed to look out for to write the topic. I even remember asking everybody to Google directions on how to craft a good topic, and yet a lot of people are still sending us. They are still doing something like back to sender. We gave you a list of areas to choose from, and you are still sending us back an area, and an area is not a topic. And this is not a project. Some people are sending project topics. They are not going to sit down and create anything and write about it. You are writing about the trend. We emphasize all of this, and yet people are still not getting it right. So people who don't have their topics yet is because they've not done the right thing. I just wanted to point that out. So thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Don't have your topics yet. We are still working. Get in touch with me, and we actually have a pool of topics that Professor and I thought of with some topics. So we just give you some topics for time is running out. So thank you, everyone. Is there any other questions? Do we have any other questions? All right, thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, ma'am.